Today I'm going to make a wine bottle balancer. Obviously this one is what I use sort of as my template, but won't be doing the inlay today on this one. Okay, so that's what we're going with. This is what we're going to start off today with to show you can be made from virtually anything. This is just a piece of old scrap wood. So the first thing I want to do is I want to bring it down to the same width. So my wood is 8 centimeters. This wood is just shy of 7 centimeters. I probably planed it a little bit too much, that one. So basically I want to take off half a centimeter off each side. So to do that, with the table saw set up with the fence, I am just going to be going for half a centimeter on either side. Okay, so we just make sure that we are good, and we're good. Okay, safety first. Put the stuff on. So now we're down to the right size. Okay. Next step is to cut it to the right width. Now my blade, as you can see, won't do it, so we'll be cutting it that way and then cutting it that way. So first things first, we measure up. So these ones I'm going to do slightly thicker than this one. I want a 2.5 centimeter thickness. This one was 2, but I want to go a little bit thicker on this one, just for something different. So 2.5 centimeters on this one it is. Okay, so we're looking for 2.5 centimeters. I've gone for a gap of around 2.8 centimeters, and that's just going to give me enough to plane and then sand it down to the correct dimensions. Okay, so using the square, I just find it's easy just for these small dimensions because you have a nice level edge to make sure this is parallel. Double check it then against the blade, and we're good to go. Okay, so away we go again. So there we go, cut down to the thickness that I wanted. As it says, we will plane that flat and clean up this edge then as well. So the next step while we've got the table saw out is to cut it to the correct length. We should probably get 2 out of this, and then we're going to cut the angled ends for the balance on it. Okay, so bits again we'll be using. These are the 2 bits we'll be using. We'll make them up, and that's all. The next piece is to cut the angled end here. Okay, so fair to do this is to tip the blade. You can use this on the bottom of it. As it says, I like around 32 degrees as being my one, so I will set that at 32 degrees. So there's our angle cut. Okay, not bad. So next thing to do is we've got to smooth these up, so that involves getting the planer. Now you can do it by hand. I'm lucky enough I've got an electric planer, so bench planer, so that's what we will do next. Okay, let me go get the bench planer. I'll be right back. And here's the planer. Okay, so as it says, next job is to plane these two bad boys down, get some nice smooth clean finishes on all the sides. I'm lazy, I'll even actually do the tops or the actual sides like that as well. So anyway, we'll start with these top panels here. So I've got a couple of mil to play with here, so it takes a few minutes because I like to go down slowly. We'll take it from there. Okay, here we go. So that's where we end up now after being planed down. So next job is to put the holes in it. This is going to be an interesting one because of the knot, but I think it's going to look actually quite cool. I don't think it's going to add a lot of character actually to that piece down as well. Okay, so next step, hole saw. Okay, let me go get the hole saw and put this baby away. So here are 2 bits of planed wood. Drill with a 44 mil circular hole. We're going to cut the holes then in these. So the first thing to do is find the middle. I know I've planed these to 6.5 centimeters wide, so I am quite comfortable with that. So I've marked 3.25 centimeters on my ruler, and we can then just mark the center line and do the same on this one. Okay, then I'm going to come down 4 centimeters from the top to get to the center of the bottom one. Okay, so and this way is that 4 centimeters all the way from the top, comes down, boom, comes down, boom. So if we put that just there, just to get an idea, as you can see, it's going to be there near the top, but plenty of meat left up there for a little bit of shaping, sanding, etc., without leaving too much there. So next thing we got to do is we've got to drill these. So I just need a bit of scrap wood to put underneath it so I don't damage my great workstation. So just a bit of scrap ply I have lying around. It's actually off an old pallet, and we just use that then as my base. Okay, so we're going to do that. Now, before we cut all the way through, I'm going to flip it over. You can see the drill hole has come through, so that still gives me the absolute line of sight, and that means I don't get any tear out on this side there. So again, keep the teeth clean. They do get nasty with this sort of wood, which is just a cheap old wood. And here we go then. There we go. One done. and now boop, 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 we got the second one done. Okay, as you can see, nice easy holes. Okay, just makes them a little bit nicer fit. So I need a router and a round over piece. So this is my router table, believe it or not. For this, it is the most basic router table you can get. A couple of pieces of old pallet wood I've just put together just to make a levelish base, and just so I can basically put these on top of the round over bit and I can do what I need to do quite safely. So we'll get this going. Right, that's the rounding over done. So again, gives a nice feel to it. It does change the balance slightly, so let's have a quick peek. Now again, it is still just, it's very slightly tipping, so I do need to adjust these angles here, which I will get to do now very soon. I will get the sander out and I will start finishing these off, and when I'm finishing them I'm just going to just make that angle a little, open it up a little bit more, and that will give us the perfect balance, and we will continue to check the angle against the bottle of wine as we go along. Okay, just for reference, as you can see, these angles are very close, but 1 or 2 degrees at this stage can make the difference between making it balanced or not. So that's why we got to just dial it in for each of these pieces. Okay, so just a sander, remember, grand job. So first thing I want to do is I just want to mark a line on these that'll bring the angle back to. So I got a straight line, so that's where I need to be. Okay, and I'll do the same on this one then as well. So just bring it back, we get a straight line, so we know what we're working towards. Okay, so we're just going to sand back as far as that line there, but trying to keep this line as much as possible. Just need to give a sand out in the middle here. I'll do that by hand, and I'll also just give the final finish a hand sand as well. So I'll start with 150, 220, 280 is what I'll work up towards there. But basically, as you can see, the concept is absolutely grand. Okay, so let me just tidy up this here, and we'll get these sanded. Okay. Okay, we've had a bit of rain, so I was just inside for a bit. So all I've done is just sanded with 150, 220, and I'm just using a bit of 280 now just for the final sand, just to make sure everything. And you can hear the dogs barking in the background there. Alright, let me crack on with finishing these two off, and I'll be back in a minute when these are done. So that's them all sanded to a 400 finish. There's a nice bit of spalting starting to come on this bit of pine. This originally was just a bit of packing wood from an old pallet, so it does perfectly. So the last thing to do before I do finish is just to finish off these angles. As it says, we've cut them and then we sanded them just to our sort of final finish and that. So the last thing we got to do with them is just to use a file. I just want to make sure they're as straight as possible. So if we can get them just straight, they will be absolutely perfect then at that stage. So we are just going to keep the foil flat against the wood, keep an eye on it to make sure that if there's any dips or bumps, we are foiling them flat, and we just smooth that out. Getting those final little bumps out of it is what gives it the sort of the balance. The flatter that is, the way better the balance goes. And even this small bit of foiling will make a huge difference to it. So there's that one there. I'm just going to give it a little rubber sandpaper just to smooth her off a little bit further. Get any burrs off it. And proof of the pudding. Well, we hope it works, isn't it? Otherwise I'm going to look like a right idiot. Okay, there we go. See, very quickly it can be done. As you can see, it's actually very stable as well. Okay, and that's just from taking those last few bumps out. So let's let me do the final one here. It's just about getting this face as flat as I said as possible. And you can hold the foil up against it to see where your bumps and your dips are. And I'm just going a bit closer, and you can see just by looking at it, there is no gap there between the foil and the wood. And likewise, even going that way, again, there is no gap between the foil and the wood basically. So that surface is flat. Quick final sand, make sure it's nice and clean, again with 280. And again, this is the test, and we gotta see. Again, there we go, absolutely. I had to go gingerly at first, but now look, there you go. Absolutely fine, there's no problems with it at all. Okay, so from 2 bits of wood, and that's what we're ending up with. Some nice little things. As you can see, it doesn't take long to do them at all. And once they're finished, you'll be able to sell them fairly quickly at an fair or market or something like that, or even online. So finishing is next. I will get to that probably tomorrow. I will finish them. I just got to decide what I want to finish them with. Whether I want to be a shellac, a varnish, a stained varnish, we'll see. But final coat needs to be poly. just keeps it, whether it be a satin or a gloss, it just keeps these much better in case of spillages or anything else like that. So there we go. So I will see you tomorrow and we'll get these finished off. Okay, so these have been sanded now all the way up as far as 280. Any little imperfections, so I've just put a little bit of filler in them and just sanded that back as well. So these are basically done. They work perfectly as you've seen. So I'm just going to put a bit of finish on them, and for finish on these, bit of pine as I said, I'm going to stick a bit of shellac on them. I think it adds a lovely little colour to it, and from there we'll put a little bit of poly down on top of it. So right, I'll keep working on these and I'll come back to you when I've got the two of them done. So after them finished off now, a couple of layers of shellac on them there. So as you can see, they're looking really well. The knot is looking absolutely gorgeous in them. Colour, lovely golden colour. So just looking a little bit antique pine. So all we're going to do now is just going to use some poly, paint down some poly. Usually then I just will use this to hold them then afterwards, just to dry them off. So you get going on this, just the first layer. Probably needs around 2 or 3 coats, I'd say around 3 coats of poly on top of the shellac, just to get it right. And as you can see already, the difference just even a little bit of poly makes on these. Just fantastic. So you can see that's just looking wonderful. So I'm going to continue with these two, get them all polyed up, and I'll come back to you and show you what they're like when they're all done, dried and ready to go. Okay, now we've got the 3 layers of poly done on. Between the polys then I was just sanding with 400. So now they look quite okay, they feel quite nice, but just to give them that little extra pizzazz, what I like to do now is give them a little bit of a wet sand. So I'm going to start off with 400, 800, 1500, just to make them really smooth, and then we'll give them a quick polish. So basically all we do is just wet sand these bad boys down. Finishing off this one with the 1500. There we go. And there go the dogs. Okay, they're done. We can just dry them off. Yeah, as you can see, so they are looking fantastic and they feel lovely and smooth. So all we're going to do now is just polish and wax them. Just for final finish, all I absolutely do here is just use a little bit of car wax. Put it on. Over it. Okay, and just leave that to the side just to haze up. And there is the finished product, absolutely silky smooth.